Hello and welcome to week 3, episode 3 of WNBA Digest. I'm your host, Jillian. Let's get started! EuroBasket is coming up. Now, as has been in the news, it's always common for WNBA players to play overseas during the off season, which usually does not overlap, but in some cases it does. This is the case right now for the FIBA Women's EuroBasket, which is about to begin. So EuroBasket is a biannual international basketball tournament in Europe featuring the European national teams. This serves as a qualifier for the World Cup as well as the Olympics. So as you can imagine, these national teams need a lot of their players, and a lot of their players do play in the WNBA. So we're going to see in the next few weeks some shifts and things like that in teams who have players that are leaving. Now, the competition will take place between June 18th and June 29th throughout Europe, so this is when we will see a lot of movement. Not everyone is leaving. There are some well-known players that are staying in the USA to continue with the WNBA instead of going home. Gabby Williams and Dominique Malonga, Carl Late, Maureen Johannes, they all play for France. They're still going to stay in the USA. Satu Sabli, who plays for Germany, is going to stay. Tasha Mack, who plays for Montenegro, and Megan Gustafsson, who plays for Spain. Now, those are some of the players that we know for sure are staying. And there's various reasons why players could stay. CBA negotiations are coming up, and sometimes maybe it's just better for them if they're making, more money here or getting more playing time here, and maybe their national team is good enough that they don't necessarily need them. But one would still understand why a player would want to go home and play for their national team. And there are some players that are reported to be going. Again, this is just reports. We won't know until they're there, but this is what has been reported right now. So if it ends up being incorrect, don't come for me. From the Liberty, Leona Fibish, who plays from Germany, as well as Nayara Sabali, who also plays for Germany. From the Sparks, Julie Alleman, who plays from Belgium. Now, the Valkyries have a lot of players because they are a super international team. So we have Julie Van Loo, who also plays for Belgium, Janelle Solana of France, Temi Fagbenle of Great Britain, Celia Zandalicini, who plays for Italy. And then for the Wings, we have Tierra McCowan that plays for Turkey, and Luisa Geiselsode of Germany. There are some players that are not yet confirmed for EuroBasket. So because of this, we're starting to see some teams temporarily suspend contracts or waive players so that their players can go overseas and play, but then they're not impacted because they need roster spots available. And then there are some players that are technically on rosters, but they have not come to the USA yet to play on the WNBA team because of EuroBasket. So players like Alana Rupert and Layla Lacan are expected to join their teams after EuroBasket, and they haven't even been with their teams yet. There's also players, for example, like Emma Mieseman, who is not in the WNBA right now, but is phenomenal. So there's a world where after EuroBasket, maybe a team picks her up. I'm looking at you, Las Vegas. Make it happen. So things to note, EuroBasket isn't the only tournament this summer to qualify. So there is an America. Typically, teams like Canada and USA don't send their WNBA players just because they don't need to. They might send college players. But a team like Brazil will need their WNBA players. So we'll likely see Camila Cardoso, who plays for the Sky, and Damaris Dantas, who plays for the Fever, go and play for a little bit for their cup to make sure that they qualify. There's also an Asia Cup for the Asian countries, as well as Australia, and an AfroBasket Cup as well. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like any WNBA players are leaving to play in either of those. But that is still to be determined because there are some players that might. Speaking of tournaments, so the league has officially started their Commissioner Cup play. If you don't know what that is, this is the 5th year of the annual Commissioner Cup. It's basically an in-season tournament for the WNBA. From June 1st to June 17th, each team will compete in their respective conferences, either the East or the West, and they'll play one game against each other team in that conference. The teams are playing for charity, so wins that they get goes toward their charity, as well as in the final cup, whoever wins gets a chunk of money from themselves and for their charity. Based on the tournament record, the top 2 teams from each conference will then compete in the Commissioner's Cup Championship. This will be on July 1st. So separate from the regular WNBA standings, we have Commissioner Cup standings. Let's take a look at the standings. So knowing the 2 teams that are still undefeated, no surprise here. In the East, we have the New York Liberty on top, and we have the Minnesota Lynx on top in the West. Now, should this stay, these 2 will be meeting again because last year in the Commissioner's Cup, they did meet, and the Minnesota Lynx actually beat the New York Liberty. So there's still more games to be played. As you can see, some teams have only played 1 game, other teams have played 4. So based on scheduling, at some point it'll even out, and then we'll have a clear leader in both conferences. Now, while this is a WNBA podcast where we talk about daily things going on with current WNBA teams and current players, we do like to pay homage to some legends. And the past few weeks was really great for book nerds and book lovers like me because we got 2 WNBA legends, Hall of Famers, royalty that released books. So first up, we're gonna talk about Dawn Staley. Okay, check it out. Check out the back. Look at cutie little baby Dawn. Okay, so Dawn Staley, if you don't know, is amazing. First off, let's just start there. I'm going to read off her resume. Well, I'm going to read off some of her resume because let's just be clear, if I read off her whole resume, we'd be here till tomorrow. So just a little bit about Dawn Staley. Basketball Hall of Famer 3 times, 3 different Hall of Fames. 6-time WNBA All-Star, 3-time gold medalist, and this was only as a player because she's a coach and her accolades as a coach are even more impressive. As a coach for South Carolina, which she currently coaches the women's basketball team, she has won 3 national championships, coached the USA women's basketball team, Tokyo Olympics to a gold medal. And she just got a statue. And like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg for the amazing things she's done. So she has a book that just came out called Uncommon Favor, Basketball, North Philly, My Mother, and the Life Lessons I Learned from All 3. And in this book, she just talks about her journey to success and the challenges she faced along the way. And I can't wait to read it because I love her. Did I mention she has a statue? Did I mention she was on Martin? Did I mention she's just awesome? Now, as I said, we got not 1, but 2 GOATs that release books. We got this week GOAT Candace Parker, my GOAT. Let's talk about Candace Nicole Parker. 2-time NCAA champion, 3-time WNBA champion, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 7-time WNBA All-Star, 2-time MVP, 1-time Finals MVP, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. The list goes on and on. Now, Candace just retired last year after that historic career I was just talking about. And these days you can catch her doing commentary on the NCAA tournaments, NBA, as well as hosting podcasts where she talks to other legends in their own right. Candace's book is called The Can-Do Mindset, How to Cultivate Resilience, Follow Your Heart, and Fight for Your Passions. Now, fun fact about Candace, later this summer, she's having her jersey retired in not 1, but 2 arenas. She'll be having her jersey retired by the LA Sparks and the Chicago Sky. And being that I live locally in Chicago, if you didn't already know, I will be at the Chicago Sky game where they take on the Las Vegas Aces to see my GOAT's jersey hang in the sky. So tune in to us a few weeks from now because we're going to be capturing that and getting footage. And I can't wait to cry in the audience for my baby girl. Now, as is every week in the WNBA, there's a little bit of drama, so we got to talk about the Seattle Storm. So it's only been 3 weeks, but we have already seen a player request a trade. This player was Lee Yeru. Lee Yeru is from China and is on the China national team. And it came out that she requested a trade, not because she hasn't been enjoying her time, but because the lack of playing time she's been getting. And I guess, as I was saying, because of things like Asia Cup, where she could be at home playing for her national team, but instead chose to stay in the USA, she wants it to be worthwhile for her to play here. So she basically just said, hey, can you send me somewhere where at least I'm playing a lot and it's worth it? And I'm not mad at her. And, I think the Aces should find a way to make that happen. Now, that's not the only reason that Seattle was in the news. The team is being investigated based on a complaint. Now, the complaint is basically that a member of the coaching staff used profanity and foul language at a member of the Las Vegas Aces in their game last week. I think we can figure out who. And basically because of that, the WNBA does have to look into the complaint and see what's happening and what's going on. Whether or not any action is taken is to be determined, and there's not that much information about it, but I couldn't not mention it. Now, the Seattle Storm has won 2 games in a row this week. The 2 games they played, they won. So, while the vibes are weird, they're not that weird because they're still winning. Last week we talked about injuries. I had mentioned the Indiana Fever and that they were down a couple of guards. And while Sid Colson did come back, Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark are still out. So no surprise, the Indiana Fever signed guard Ari McDonald, and she's been making an impact. We also mentioned Phoenix. Phoenix had signed Haley Jones. They also signed a hardship player, Megan McConnell, but Megan McConnell got hurt and now is out for 4 or 6 games. So they may be signing more players. They ended up waiving Haley because when you sign a hardship contract, basically you get to play on the team as long as a certain amount of players are injured. And once the team is at 10 healthy on the roster spots, you can't. So it's a lot of mixing and matching, and sometimes you can get waived but picked right back up just because of players in and out of the lineup. And I really hope that Haley Jones does get picked up by someone else. On the New York Liberty, we have Jonquel Jones out with the injury. She's been kind of day-to-day on a lot of the games. Olivia Nelson-Oda has an ankle injury. We talked about last week that Paige Beckers was in concussion protocol. She has been cleared. However, now she has an illness, so she didn't even play in the game game today. It's Sunday, we record, and she had a game today against the Minnesota Lynx, and she was out. So hopefully she recovers from whatever she has going on, and we see her back. Finally, no surprise, we talked about the Valkyries earlier. We reported that Tiffany Hayes was coming back, and she literally got re-injured when she came back in the game, that same nose. So she's back out. Crazy. We got to wrap her in bubble wrap. Now, the Golden State Valkyries, as I said, they're one of the teams that are going to be affected the most by EuroBasket, so it's no surprise that they picked up Letitia Amihir to sign a hardship contract to help out with the team. And finally, it's not a podcast unless we talk about Courtney Vandersloot. My girl went down this weekend with a knee injury or a leg injury. It did not look good. Here's a cute picture of her with her kid. We talked about the Commission Cup standings earlier, but now let's get into the current standings. No surprise, as I talked about, we still have Minnesota and New York on top. Now, the Minnesota Lynx are obviously above New York because they played one more game. And let's talk about that because there has been a disparity in games that you're going to see, and that definitely affects the team's abilities to win. You know, a team like Phoenix, Washington, and Dallas had 3 games this week, while teams such as Las Vegas Aces had only 1. And over the course of the season, it will even out, but it just gives an example of why some teams are ahead. You know, the Minnesota Lynx have literally just only played 1 more game than the Liberty, so that's why they're 9-0 versus 8-0. So who's to say that they'll stay on top? And it's been a lot. You know, there are some teams that have played a lot of games in these first 2 weeks, and even some players have been commenting on it and on the disparity. With the addition of the Golden State Valkyries, the teams will be playing more games this season, as well as they've extended out the finals to be 7 games. So I do expect it to take a toll on players, especially since this year they don't have a long break like last year where they had the Olympics. You know, this is a season where everything is going to be more condensed and they're playing more games, and it's a lot on their bodies, and not every, you know, team has a practice facility or a wellness center built in, so I imagine it's going to be hard on some players. And finally, it's our final and favorite segment, one sentence about each team, switching up the order because we can't always talk about Atlanta first. But we're going to talk about Atlanta. Minnesota Lynx. If y'all aren't watching Stud Buds on Twitch, what are you doing? What are you doing? New York Liberty. Shit is unfair at this point. Atlanta Dream. I'm gonna take these goggles off because I can't be calling y'all a contender if you out here losing to the Connecticut Sun like that. Phoenix Mercury. I just need y'all healthy so I can really see what we doing here and what we working with. Las Vegas Aces. I mean, hey, if you're gonna lose to the Golden State Valkyries like that, at least you did it with nice shoes on, right? Seattle Storm. We're winning, but let's try to go 1 week without being in the news. Indiana Fever. Oh, hey, Kelsey Mitchell. Golden State Valkyries. We might need to put y'all on national TV every day if this is how y'all gonna go up for them games. Washington Mystics. Congrats, Kiki, for getting Rookie of the Month. Los Angeles Sparks. Rakia back. Chicago Sky. I mean, at least you have your draft pick. Oh, wait. You don't. Connecticut Sun. Okay, Marina. I like you leaning into your role. Dallas Wings. I just kind of want to scream at them. They're just so bad. And that has been another episode of WNBA Digest Week 3. Check back next week for a new episode with all the happenings of Week 4 in the WNBA. Have a good one. And remember, it's June. Happy Pride.